On today's show, we're going to be going to 3 motorcycle dealerships around the Milwaukee area, and we also get to visit a local hobbyist that fixes and sells used motorcycles.
Oh, at Portland too, we have probably over 350 bikes at one time. We sell Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Polaris, Can-Am. If people randomly want to start riding, there's different styles of bikes for each person. There's smaller cruisers, there's fuel-injected cruisers to get away from the carburation. There's 250 style sport bikes and 300 style sport bikes now. So it really all depends on the rider and what kind of style of bike they're looking for. Whatever they're looking for, we usually have something that we can help them out with. Yeah, it definitely varies. I mean, the fuel injection definitely gets better gas mileage. The scooters now are even very popular over the past couple of years with the higher gas prices. Some of the scooters even over 100 miles per gallon.
We actually work on all types of bikes. We work on Suzuki, Honda, Kawasaki, Can-Ams. We also work on Sea-Doos, BRP just in general. They tie in with Skidoo, Sea-Doo, and the Can-Am are all tied under the BRP umbrella. We service basically from sport bikes, street bikes, dirt bikes, basically every type of bike we service here. We offer all different types of services. We offer a lot of pre-maintenance tune-ups for bikes. Normally when you buy a brand new bike, you'll want to do a break-in period as recommended by the manufacturer. So normally the first couple hundred miles you would bring the bike back, and then we would do an inspection on the bike to make sure, change the oil. The oil changing in the first couple hundred miles is actually the most important on the bike. So we offer all different types of tune-ups, carb work, motor rebuilds, just the typical oil changes, fluid changes. We offer all different types, tires, basically anything on the bike that we can get parts for, we'll work on.
The average cost is all over the board from $39.99 all the way on up to a Goldwing, which is over $20,000.
We do work on such a variety of different bikes. I would say the sport bikes are our bigger bikes due to the fact that they need sometimes the most maintenance, but the cruisers also are a big hit for us in regards to, because they put on the most miles. The Goldwings, people, they'll put on 20,000 miles in a season, so they're always in here to get their fluids changed, tires, things like that. So sport bikes as far as what the rider will do to the bike, but as far as the mileage goes, the cruisers are a bigger hit for us. So. It really depends on your history of riding bikes. A lot of people who have been riding bikes, they might have ridden dirt bikes as a child, four-wheelers, different type of motorized units. It really depends on what the customer feels the most comfortable on. Usually what we recommend is if you haven't really ever ridden a bike, you want to stay around the 250 range, like a CBR 250, or we even offer some cruiser bikes that are like 250 cc's. Those are great starter bikes. They do come with the clutch, so the clutch, the shifting, all that aspect gets tied in together when you're trying to look for a bike. But mostly it's the comfortability. I always say you want to sit on the bike, you want to see how it feels, and that's how you're going to determine what would feel the best for you. With cruisers, you're sitting up a little bit higher, so it's a little bit different ride compared to a sport bike when you're leaned a little bit more forward. So normally you want to go with whatever you feel is what you feel comfortable with.
Dirt bikes are all over the board. Honda, Kawasaki, and Suzuki are the most popular dirt bikes out on the market. From a small 50cc Honda all the way up to a 450cc. Multiple use there, trail riding to motocross racing. We are heavy into motocross racing. A couple of employees here do race, and we do help out a lot of the racers that are using those products. We sell all kinds of apparel, from snowmobile gear to boots to motorcycle jackets, helmets, huge inventory of parts and accessories and apparel.
We'll work on anything, even bikes that we're not dealershipped with, like Yamaha, those type of Articat. We still do work on all different types of units here. Most of our techs have actually been with us for well over 10 years. Yeah, and what's great about us also is we work with the manufacturers, the tech lines. Basically, if we can't fix a problem or we can't find the problem or figure out how to fix it, we're able to call Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and actually get some more information on what they've experienced from other dealers in the United States.
We are here at Schlossman's to get a different perspective on 3 specific bikes by the make and model of their specifications. One of them being a BMW sports bike.
The BMW S1000RR is one of the fastest production bikes that is currently produced. Although it is the fastest, or one of the fastest, it's also one of the safest and easiest to ride motorcycles that is currently on the market. Such safety features as ABS braking, very advanced ABS braking system, dynamic traction control, which will keep the wheels from spinning. It also has a quick shifter on it for clutchless upshifting, and heated grips, different riding modes, which will change the power and torque curves of the motorcycle to detune it or to uptune it, depending on the situation. The detuning can be done on the fly with the push of a button. There's a mode button which will change how the motorcycle, how the throttle responds, and also how the ABS and the traction control work with the motorcycle and the rider. There's 3 different modes initially. You have rain mode, which is the most detuned mode. That will put the bike from 193 horsepower to 165 and also changes the torque curve accordingly. If you want to take a step up from that, you can put it in sport mode, which will, again, it will give it full horsepower but not full torque. And then if you want full horsepower and full torque, you would put it in race mode. And again, each of these modes, you can kind of determine if you want the ABS and traction control on or off, but they also respond differently in each mode, again, to be more or less intrusive with the riding style of the rider. Traction control is something that a lot of other bikes don't have. What that's going to do is it's going to limit the rear wheel from spinning, but also if you're going around a corner, and let's say you're a newer rider, you're going around a corner on this bike, and you lean the bike over a little bit more than you're comfortable with. Sometimes on bikes that don't have traction control, that rear tire is going to tend to slide out a little bit if you're leaning over harder, if you hit a patch of gravel or something, or some oil that's on the road. This bike compensates for all of that and actually will keep that tire firmly planted on the ground and will keep it from sliding sideways if you're leaned over on the motorcycle. Another way it helps is, depending on what mode you're in, the traction control actually will limit your throttle depending on your lean angle, and based on your speed, your lean angle. If you go into a corner with the traction control enabled in rain mode, it will let you lean over, a certain degree. Once you pass that degree of lean angle, you can't actually roll on the throttle and the bike will not accelerate. It will only maintain the speed that you carried coming into the corner until you hit that same lean angle again, and then it will accelerate.
Now we get a venture back in time and see what the new Triumph Bonneville looks like.
Triumph Bonneville, again, is a very classic bike, has a classic look to it. A lot of guys like these bikes because it kind of reminds them of their youth, 60s and 70s. It's a remake of those motorcycles, but again, brought up to today's standards. An 865 parallel twin, air-cooled engine, which produces about 6-7 horsepower. It is also a 5-speed with a number of options depending on which model you go with. As far as exhausts, the more premium ones have the old style pea shooter exhaust. The more base ones have a megaphone style exhaust. They're a chain drive, and again they're fuel injected, so they're not carbureted anymore, even though they appear to be carbureted. And the wheel package on them, if you get a more base model one, it's going to come with the mag wheels on it, which are a little bit smaller diameter. It also makes the bike sit lower. And then on the more premium ones, you're going to get the wire wheels or spoked wheels, which are a larger diameter. And again, those also come with a flat style seat as well, as compared to the base models, which have a more contoured seat, so they sit lower to the ground.
If you're thinking about a long trip, this BMW touring bike might be just what you're looking for.
Well, you're going to find a different seating position first off. On a touring bike, you're either going to be straight up and down with your feet right beneath you, or you're going to be slightly leaned forward with a little bit more aggressively lean forward stance. On a cruiser, your feet are going to be in front of you. It's going to have what's called forward controls on it instead of standard controls. So it's more or less like you're leaning or you're riding the bike with your feet out in front of you.
If you're thinking about a long trip, this BMW touring bike might be just what you're looking for.
Sure, some of the options that you would find on one of these BMW touring bikes is heated grips. You can get them with heated seats. All the windshields on them are adjustable. With the touch of a button, you can raise or lower the windshield, and also it adjusts the height of it along with the pitch to throw wind over you, or if you're comfortable looking through the windshield, you can adjust it. They all have ABS standard, which again comes in handy for riding the bike in treacherous weather conditions like right now. A lot of the bikes nowadays, a lot of the touring bikes are going to come with a Sirius satellite radio, AM, FM. Most of them are also iPod compatible with a Bluetooth stereo. So let's say that if you have a communicator in your helmet, a Bluetooth communicator, you can actually listen to music a lot of times on these, get navigation directions wirelessly through your helmet. Now, in the case of these bikes right here, the R1200 RT, that's one of BMW's best-selling, most popular touring bikes they've had. They actually have a 90th anniversary out on these bikes because they are still air and oil cooled, with liquid cooling coming in the next year or two. It's not carbureted, it's still fuel. It's a fuel-injected bike, but it's not liquid cooled yet. And the reason for that is because of the boxer design of the engine. You'll notice the cylinder heads on these bikes stick out the side, which is a pretty efficient way of cooling them down. So it's a design that's worked for BMW for the last 90 years, which is why they've made upgrades to the engine, but they've still kept the relative overall design of these. They will be going liquid cooled eventually, but not fully liquid cooled. They'll be about 35% on the heads, because they are still a boxer engine, so those heads are still going to be sticking out the side. They get plenty of air cooling on them anyway.
Now we're in Waukesha, where Action Power Sports has a wide variety of motorcycles to choose from.
Well, it varies. It goes up and down. The inventory is constantly always changing, but for the most part, we have anywhere from usually 250 to 350 bikes on hand. That's new and used. We carry Honda, Suzuki, Victory motorcycles, brand new, and then we have a wide assortment of different used bikes as well. If it's a rider that has no experience at all, if they're just coming out of one of the learning classes to ride a motorcycle, then we recommend staying with something around the 250cc range. We have pretty much the full gamut of bikes. We have a full array of cruisers. We have what they call bagger bikes. Those are the bikes with the saddlebags attached to the rear. We have full touring bikes with the full fairings on the front, the backrest built in, the bags on the side, and then of course we have the full array of sport bikes as well, ranging from 250cc all the way up to 1200 cc. Well, when you're talking about the average cost of a sport bike, that's kind of a loaded question, I guess, simply because the most popular sport bike cc range is right around the 600 cc range. And when you're talking about the new cost of one of them, it's give or take, some are a little above 10,000, some are a little below 10,000, but they're right in that average range. Yeah, we have a fully set up service shop with master technicians that are in it, that are certified by the manufacturers to work on the bikes and ATVs as well.
We're here with Tim, a local motorcycle hobbyist that has been fixing and repairing motorcycles since the age of 17.
Well, lately mainly I buy used bikes to fix up, to resell, something to do differently all the time. Got a couple project bikes I've been working on this winter, slowly finishing up. I got a 750 Honda here I've been doing. That's a 1974. It's coming around, it's about there. Other than that, we just, everything's different. This here's a 450 custom Honda. That's a 1982. That's a friend of mine, he needs a rear chain on there. It's about 45 horsepower. It has a 5-speed transmission with a constant mesh clutch in transmission. It's run mag wheels. This is one of the classier ones of the time. This probably sold for in its day about $1,500 new. And nowadays you can probably find these for about $700, $800, $900 in pretty good shape. So it's usually a good bargain. It gets about 55 miles per gallon of gas. So that seems to help nowadays with the gas prices we have. This one here is a 1982 Honda 750 Magna. This is a V4, 4 cylinders, 4 carburetors, shaft drive, water cooled, which is radiator, antifreeze. Has about 80 horsepower, 6-speed transmission. Has top speed of about 120 miles an hour. This one here I picked up, needs a carb clean. It's been setting for like 5 or 6 years, so it needs the carbs to be redone, the tune-up done on it, all the gaskets and O-rings and filters to be replaced. And a rear tire too, and a front fork seal. So it needs quite a bit of work, but it'll be a nice bike for somebody when I get done. The day starts, just get out here and start working on whatever bike needs it at that time, whatever parts come in. Normally you wait for parts half the time on these older ones because the parts aren't available right away, so you do have to wait quite a bit of time for parts. And that seems to slow you up on your projects. Other than that, it's just your favorite bikes. I mean, I take in the ones I like, so I only work on stuff I like, and then I enjoy it, and then you enjoy going to work. You only work 10 minutes, 10 feet from your door, so it's kind of nice just to walk out here and have something to do different every day. Every day is something different. That to me is probably the best thing I have going for me, that I can work on something different every day. And it's rewarding, that when you sell that bike, the guy's going to get it. It's going to be a nice bike. He's going to have it for a long time. And that's just the way I've done it for forever now. So we'll see. I mean, things could change, but I've had the big dealerships, and I've been working there, been running them. Had 20 people working for me at one time, but this is really the true thing, is do it yourself, rely on yourself, because you know what's done. You're not dependent on a mechanic because your name's on that work. So that's important. So that's one thing I do, is do it right the first time, and maybe charge a little more sometimes, but the work's done right.
He has a good collection of motorcycles that are in mint condition when they are finished.